Dear students, we are getting into the last part of this introductory chapter. In this part, we are dealing with the theoretical frameworks of OB. There are three theoretical frameworks. The first one is cognitive theory, and the second one is behavioristic theory, and the third one is social learning theory. Let's see the first one, cognitive theory. The word cognition may not be very familiar to you. The meaning of the word cognition is the act of knowing an item of information or the act of understanding something. And this theory says cognitions precede behavior and act as an input into the person's thinking, perception, etc. The word precede means happens before, takes place before. So we can now understand that our understanding of something happens before our behavior, and that understanding acts as an input into our thinking, perception, etc. In other words, the behavior of a person is based on his understanding of something, and that understanding influences his thinking, perception, etc. Or on the basis of the understanding, the person thinks, perceives, etc. For example, when we understand that there is a possibility for having a rain, surely we may take an umbrella. Taking umbrella is a behavior, and that behavior is actually caused by our understanding that there may be a rain. So all our behavior, according to this theory, all our behavior are based on our understanding. I hope you understood the concept called cognitive theory. And the second theory that explains organizational behavior is behavioristic theory. And there are two models. We'll be discussing about models of behavior in detail later. Though, to illustrate this particular theory, here I say there is SR model and RS model. S stands for stimulus, R stands for response. So there is a stimulus response model, and there is a reverse of that, which is called response stimulus model. And the SR model says or explains the behavior as a response to a stimulus. So there is a stimulus S, and we respond to that stimulus, and that response is called behavior. And in RS model, it is little advanced further, and that model says the response is based on the stimulus. In other words, the stimulus automatically does not create a response. Rather, a response decided by the organism is coming as a response to the stimulus. So the details shall be discussed in the other portion. And the third theory is social learning theory. So the word social learning, we learn from society. So that theory says people are self-aware and they engage in purposeful behavior and they learn from others. So that means we become aware of our behavior, and by looking at other people, by understanding their behavior, or by learning from others, we modify our behavior, we decide our responses. So these are the three theories of organizational behavior or theoretical frameworks of OBI: cognitive theory, behavioristic theory, and social learning theory. And the next aspect we are going to discuss is the importance of studying OB. Why do we study OB? Because in the previous section, we have seen that OB requires a systematic study. It is something beyond common sense. And here we are trying to explain the importance or reasons or significance of studying organizational behavior systematically. The first point, to learn about ourselves and how to deal with others. It is helping us to, the study of OB helps us to learn about ourselves, and by understanding the behavior of others, we can deal easily with others. And the second point says you are part of an organization now and will continue to be a part of various organizations. That means now you are a student, and in future you may become a manager in some organization. And when you become a manager, you will be part of that. And in future period of time also, you may be becoming part of various organizations. Even though you are a student now, you are part of your class, which is an organization, maybe an informal, semi-formal organization. And there also people are behaving differently. And in future also we will be joining various other organizations. So understanding OB will help us to play our role effectively in an organization. And the third point says organizations are increasingly expecting individuals to be able to work in teams at least some of the time. We know that the importance that organizations give for teamwork. Team efforts are very valid now than individual performances. And when you are able to work in a team effectively, you need to understand the behavior of others. You need to influence others. Because today is era of teamwork, not individual performance. Fourth point, some of you may want to be managers or entrepreneurs, and the study may help you to understand the basis of motivation and what we should do to motivate our subordinates. So OB talks a lot of things about motivating people. So in future you may be a manager, or you may have your own business and you may become an entrepreneur. And when you become a manager or entrepreneur, there may be people working under you. You may have subordinates. And through the study of OB, if you are able to understand the base of motivation and what are the ways by which we can motivate our subordinates, surely that may be a helpful tip or tool in our future efforts. And the fifth point says useful to maintain cordial industry relations. Cordial means friendly relations among various parties in business setup. Industrial relations means the relationship between management and workers, between management and higher levels, between workers, between management and trade unions, etc. So this study of behavior, study of organizational behavior will help us to have a better industrial relations in our organizations. The next point is useful in the field of marketing. And in marketing, we have to understand the consumer behavior. How consumers respond to our marketing stimuli. And organizational behavior enlightens us about various concepts of behavior. So, the understanding about the behavior of individuals and groups is useful in the field of marketing or in the field of understanding consumer behavior. The next topic is contributing disciplines to the field of OB. So while discussing about the nature of organizational behavior, we had seen that OB is an emerging discipline. It is a field of study, not a discipline. That is what we have seen there. That means it is growing up or it is acquiring the qualities of a discipline. It is not yet fully achieved. So that means there are various other disciplines that contributes to the development of OB as a discipline. So let's see what are those contributing disciplines. Surely there is psychology. Psychology is a study of behavior of living organisms, we have seen, to put simply. And in OB, we may be drawing various theories, concepts, understanding of psychology. So psychology is contributing very much to the organizational behavior. And there is sociology, the group formation, the group dynamics, the group development, etc. All those, how society behaves, all those are very important aspects of understanding organizational behavior. And the next is social psychology. So how groups behave, what are the determinants of group behavior, how conflicts can be resolved, all those things are being discussed in organizational behavior. So we draw a lot of concepts, theories, experiences from the social psychology also. Then there is anthropology. Anthropology is a field of study that throws light to the development of human beings as a species, how we have evolved as a present human being, how Homo sapiens have developed their culture. So all those are being discussed in anthropology. And this field of study or this discipline has great influence in the understanding of organizational behavior. Then there is political science, the power dynamics, the conflict again. So all these are part of political science. And political science also contribute to the development of the concepts of organizational behavior. So psychology, sociology, social psychology, anthropology, political science, and many other disciplines also have contributed to the development of organizational behavior as a field of study or as an emerging discipline. And when we move toward as a discipline, let's see the various other behavioral sciences or other disciplines and the contribution of each such discipline, and what is the unit of analysis and what is output. So this is a very comprehensive diagram showing the contribution of various other disciplines in the development of organizational behavior. So behavioral sciences, other disciplines, that is what behavioral sciences, and the contributions. So what are the theoretical dimensions we draw from each such behavioral science field, and unit of analysis, whether it is in individual level or in group level or in organization system level, and ultimately the objective or the output is study of organizational behavior. So the first behavioral science, psychology, has contributed in understanding learning, motivation, perception, training, leadership effectiveness, job satisfaction, individual decision making, performance appraisal, attitude measurement, employee selection, work design, work stress. So all these concepts were contributed by the psychology, and they all contribute to the individual analysis to understand the individual. Then the next discipline of behavioral science is sociology. Sociology has contributed concepts or theories in the field of group dynamics, work teams, communication, power, conflict, intergroup behavior, and the other areas such as formal organization theory, organizational technology, organizational change, organizational culture, etc. And they contribute to the group level analysis. And the next discipline that contribute to OB is social psychology. And the contributions of social psychology are in the field of behavioral change, attitude change, communication, group process, group decision making, etc. Those contributions are also related to the group level analysis. And anthropology contributes to the areas of comparative values, comparative attitudes, cross-cultural analysis, organizational culture, organizational environment, etc. And those things are contributing both to group level analysis and organization system level analysis. And behavioral science called political science, it contributes to the concepts related to conflict, intra-organizational politics, power, etc. So those contributions are related to organization system level analysis. And ultimately all these behavioral sciences, their contributions, the unit of analysis, etc., ultimately result in the study of organizational behavior. It contributes to the study of OB. And there are different behaviors that are being exhibited by employees. So all these behaviors we might have come across in our previous studies. So we'll have a quick glance through these important employee behaviors. The first important employee behavior is job satisfaction. And job satisfaction can be described as a general attitude toward one's job, the difference between the amount of reward workers receive and the amount they believe they should receive. So simply we can say job satisfaction is one's attitude towards his job. And normally satisfaction can be emerged as a result of the comparison between two things. One is the amount of reward workers receive, actual reward workers receive. And the second one is the amount of reward a worker believes that he or she should receive. What one expects and what one actually receives. So that difference is something that creates satisfaction. When your expectation is too high and what you receive is less, then you will be dissatisfied. And when you don't expect much and you receive almost the same as in the previous case, you may be satisfied. So it is a difference between the expectation and the actuals. So an employee must be satisfied with his job, and that is an important employee behavior. And the next behavior is productivity. Productivity is a performance measure that includes effectiveness and efficiency. So it is productivity is a measure of performance, and there is both effectiveness and efficiency. Now let's see what is effectiveness. Effectiveness says whether we are able to achieve the goals, and efficiency is a ratio between input and output. It is a measure of input-output ratio. So when you take a medicine to come out of your fever, we say the medicine is effective. And when someone is consuming less input and produces more output, we say that person is very efficient. So both are measures of performance, both effectiveness and efficiency. And the next is absenteeism, a very important behavior that managers have to tackle. Absenteeism is a failure to report to work. The employee is not coming for the job. The student is not attending the class. Then we say the student is absent. So that is the failure to report to work is called absenteeism. And the other important behavior that has become a problem to the organizations now is called turnover, employee turnover. Turnover is a voluntary and involuntary permanent withdrawal from an organization. An employee is going out of the organization. He withdraws from the organization, and that withdrawal may be voluntary. That means the employee himself willingly goes out of the organization. He says goodbye to the organization his own. That is called a voluntary withdrawal. And the other one is involuntary. That means the employee may be willing to work in the organization, but the management is not very happy with him. So they send him out. So that is called involuntary. So whatever be the case, voluntary or involuntary, that withdrawal is permanent. He may not be coming back. He's not taking a leave for a particular period of time. Rather, he's going out of the organization permanently. So that is called turnover, employee turnover. Absenteeism and turnover are two major issues or major problems that organizations face. And the other one is a positive one, organizational citizenship behavior. So this says it is a discretionary behavior that is not part of an employee's formal job requirements, but that nevertheless promotes the effective functioning of the organizations. So let's see the major points. The first one is it is a discretionary behavior. Discretionary means it is a discretion of the employee. It is not mandatory, it is not compulsory. Rather, it is the employee's choice. That's what we mean by discretionary behavior. And the second point, that behavior is not part of the employee's formal job requirements. That means his present job in the organization does not require such a behavior. That is not formally required. And the third one, it promotes the effective functioning of the organization. Though it is not mandatory, if such a behavior is exhibited by the employee, that results in the effective functioning of the organization. So that is the third point. And let's see some of the examples. Suppose when an employee is helping others on one's work team, that is an example for organizational citizenship behavior. An employee is not actually expected to help others in his team, but he may be coming forward with such a help. Then that is organizational citizenship behavior. Or another employee may be volunteering for extra job activities. He may be coming forward for an extra job. As a student, you may come to the teacher to do an extra job, maybe to do something which is not expected from a student. So that is called organizational citizenship behavior. And when an employee is trying to avoid unnecessary conflicts, that is also contributing to the development of the organization. So that is organizational citizenship behavior. And another example is making constructive statements about one's work group and the overall organization. So an employee is constructively contributing to the overall work team and organization. He is making constructive statements, positive comments, maybe constructive criticism about the functioning of an organization or his work group. Then that is another example of organizational citizenship. So these are the important concepts related to the introductory aspects of organizational behavior. Wish you all the best.